Welcome to Watch, Review, Repeat. This is the podcast where two best friends discuss the latest in film and television and then do it all over again the following week. My name is Colton Brown, and joining me is Andrew Meadows.
How you doing there, Colton Dakota?
Oh, I'm doing pretty well, Daryl. Andrew, how are you?
Well, I'm a little delirious after this movie. I don't know what the fuck I watched, to be completely honest with you.
If you had to take a stab at it, what would you say the name of the movie that you watched was?
I think it's called A Wrinkle in Time.
I think you're right.
But it left a wrinkle in my mind, and it's not very good.
Not in a good way. No.
No.
not in the Annihilation way.
No.
Ooh, we're gonna get into it. Let's start with our usual. Well, not our usual, but our new recurring segment, Andrew's Fun Fact of the Week. What do you got this week?
Coming up short this week, Bubba. Wrinkle in Time's. I'm just at a loss for words. I'm at a loss for words.
Okay, you're using that as your excuse. I see.
I'm gonna stand behind the giant Oprah, and I don't got a lot to say.
All right. Well, I can rescue you again if you'd like.
Oh, what do you got? Lay it on me.
This is it's a fun fact related to movies, so it's kind of close to what we'd be covering in news anyway. But it's about a movie that came out 6 years ago, as it was. So I wanted to ask you, do you know who Pete Travis is?
Pete Travis?
Yeah, if you had to guess, take a stab at who Pete Travis is. Who would you say that was?
Pete Travis.
Without cheating.
I don't know who Pete Travis is.
All right. Well, do you know who Alex Garland is?
I do know who Alex Garland is. Okay.
Well, traditionally, it has been thought that Pete Travis was the director of Dredd. Carl Urban, the star of Dredd, Judge Dredd himself, has confirmed that that is not the case. Despite being officially credited as the director, Pete Travis did not direct the movie. In fact, Alex Garland himself was the one that not only wrote it, but apparently he directed it as well.
What did the Pete Travis do?
I don't know. I think he was on set. He's a real person. Don't get me wrong. I guess for whatever reason, it's one of those things where there was some clear production issues, I guess, with him. I don't know what the deal was, but yeah, I mean, when the star of your movie comes out and says that, what a lot of people don't know is that Alex Garland actually directed that movie. So that's pretty interesting. But
it's pretty awesome.
I say that it's a fun fact because, honestly, you know who Alex Garland is. You know his track record. Pete Travis, you don't know who he is. You don't know his track record.
Right.
And so it makes sense that Dredd is as good as it is because of the pedigree behind it, right?
Absolutely. That's an awesome movie.
Anyway, since we've been talking about Alex Garland in recent episodes, I figured that was noteworthy, and
it's a cool little fun fact, man.
That's the fun fact I have for you. Let's get into the news for this week. We're going to start with everyone's favorite director, Michael Bay. We know what his next two projects are going to be. He's going to be doing 6 Underground first, which he's partnering with Rhett Reese and Paul Wernick, who wrote the first Deadpool. Okay. No plot details on that, but I think that's what he's immediately doing. Moreover, his next project after that is going to be a little movie called Robopocalypse, based on the book by Daniel H. Wilson that for pretty much, it seems like this thing's been gestating for years, and Steven Spielberg has been attached to that for the longest time. But I guess Spielberg is handing over the reins to old Bay himself. So, all
right,
man, that sounds like a very Michael Bay kind of movie, doesn't it? Robopocalypse. I mean,
it does.
He's made 5 of those, right?
We can expect explosions and I don't know, other Michael Bayisms, I guess.
Yeah, it's really
Bayisms.
Michael Bay. It's a lot of 360 camera shots and a lot of gratuitous shots of female posteriors, shall we say? It's gonna be great. That's what I'm saying.
It's gonna be great. Fucking Michael Bay.
We got an official trailer for The Grinch from Illumination, the studio behind Minions, Despicable Me, a couple others, I think. You saw the trailer for this? It's got old Benedict Cumberbatch lending his voice as the Grinch.
Yeah, I don't really know how I feel about it. It didn't hit with me well. I don't know if maybe it's because I like the
You like the Jim Carrey one?
Yeah, I like the Jim Carrey Grinch. But
what about the Mike Myers Cat in the Hat?
I don't know about that one.
You remember that one being a thing? Bet you forgot about that for about a decade.
I remember the fat little kid.
No, yeah, I know what you mean though. This one, I don't know. Yeah, it doesn't. I don't like. I kind of like the idea of it doing an animated Grinch. I think that's a good idea. But this trailer for me didn't. I don't know. You know, we saw Wreck-It Ralph recently as like an animated trailer. And I'm like, that looks fun. Like that looks good. This one to me just feels like, I don't know.
Yeah,
I want to like this, but it doesn't. I don't know. It didn't feel very Grinchy to me. I don't know why.
It didn't. No. And like I said, it's just I think it might be just a change in art direction and everything else.
Maybe.
But yeah, like you look at Jim Carrey Grinch and it's all dark and Grinchy where the Grinch lives and shit, and this one Max is making his coffee and just kind of I don't know. It's just a different feel. I don't know if I like that difference. I think I might be biased.
Maybe. I don't know. Yeah, I am kind of the same way though. I mean, I'm certainly willing to give this a shot. I think that it could be cute, could be fun, but I don't know. Just as kind of a real first impression, it didn't really land all that well with me. But I expect we'll probably see in the next trailer. I imagine we'll probably get more that's kind of maybe more what we think of the Grinch. Something more in line with kind of the book, I guess. So I don't know. We shall see. Terminator is getting a reboot. Mackenzie Davis is in negotiations to join Linda Hamilton and Arnold Schwarzenegger in that Terminator reboot, in which she would play a soldier assassin on a mission, quote unquote.
Ooh, that sounds cool. Time traveling Mackenzie Davis. It sounds like, huh?
Yeah, I think that's she's great. We saw her recently? Blade Runner 2049, San Junipero and Black Mirror,
The Martian.
Yeah, she was on all these things. I know she's in the show *Halt and Catch Fire*, which I think ended, I want to say 2017 sometime, and I heard that show was great. Haven't actually sat down and watched it. I know it was on AMC, and it's one of the ones I am interested in. But as with many shows that catch my interest, it's hard to find time for all of them. So I do know that I like her from what I've seen her in. I can at least put it in those words. And I don't know. I mean, I don't know that it was over. Like, I don't know that the prospect of a Terminator reboot is something that really gets my gears going, but it seems like I'm kind of digging everything about this so far. It certainly sounds like a massive upgrade over whatever the fuck Terminator Genesis was,
Right. I'll take a Terminator movie, especially if it's a reimagining, a retelling. It sounds cool.
Yeah. It's supposed to be the first in a trilogy from what I'm reading here in the Hollywood Reporter article, and apparently she's not playing the main role. I guess the producers are undergoing an intense and so far fruitless search to find a Latina for the story's main role. So that's interesting.
Yeah.
Call up Gina Rodriguez. She crushed in Annihilation.
She did.
I mean, I'm sure they've probably looked at her. There's also probably plenty of other Latina women that are more than fit for that role, so I'm sure they'll find their one eventually. Following up on some news from last week, we talked about Kristen Wiig being in talks to play Cheetah in the Wonder Woman sequel, and Patty Jenkins is on Twitter confirmed that she will indeed be joining the cast. I guess they've closed a deal to make it happen.
Very good.
Yeah. Again, as we said last week, sounds good to me. We've also got, probably the least surprising news I think ever. Black Panther getting a sequel.
No,
no
way.
Look, this thing made $1 billion worldwide, man. I mean, if your movie makes $1 billion worldwide,
shut that shit down.
It stands to reason that you should probably make a sequel to it. I mean, people seem to have some sort of interest in it. So, Kevin Feige just kind of nonchalantly dropped this.
What do you even have to ask?
In an interview with Entertainment Weekly. Yeah, they literally is like, what can you tell us about plans for a Black Panther sequel? Nothing specific to reveal other than we can say that we will absolutely do that. So,
that's a good choice, man.
Yeah, I mean it seems like a pretty solid idea. And a small note on that, it has recently landed its 4th weekend at #1 in a row. First movie to do that since a little movie called Star Wars: The Force Awakens.
Ooh.
Pretty impressive.
I'm surprised that Wrinkle in Time didn't knock it off its top.
Well, it needed a little help. It needed a little help from Wrinkle in Time kind of shitting the bed a bit. But we talked about that, I think, a week or two ago about how March was kind of primed to have a few box office bombs kind of lined up. And so far, everything's lining up, at least as far as we kind of predicted that they might. So, I don't know. I mean, it's not doing horrible. I think it's at like 32 million is what it's tracking for the weekend, A Wrinkle in Time. But Black Panther's sitting pretty at like, I think 41 million, which again, for a 4th weekend, I mean, holy shit. So, Jesus Christ.
Fucking Michael Bay, son, getting the mangles.
To explain what's going on here, Andrew has just sent me a picture of Michael Bay working his directorial magic.
Oh God! Oh, I'm sorry.
All right. Pay attention.
They're all so good. Oh fuck me, man!
I know that Michael Bay is your favorite director of all time, but you need to pay attention for the rest of this episode.
He's a very passionate director. He's got a fucking helicopter, and he's got his foot on the rock. Oh God. Oh, I'm sorry.
Can we move on? Are we allowed to move on?
We can move on. I've got distracted. Sorry.
Well, how's this to capture your attention? Denis Villeneuve is working. Oh, see, snapped right to attention there. Very, very impressive. Denis Villeneuve, who you might know as the director of Blade Runner 2049, is working on his next project, or at least one of his next projects, an adaptation of the Frank Herbert book Dune.
Whew, that's a heavy news thing there.
Well, others have tried and failed to do this adaptation, and well, I mean, if there's any man that has the chops, I would say it's probably going to be Denis Villeneuve. So this is, I mean, it's been known that he's been working on this, but I guess he was at some sort of event, and basically he said that it's probably going to take 2 years to make, and the goal with the project here is to make 2 films, maybe more.
Very nice.
So maybe that's the way to do it, is to
they could easily split that shit up into two distinct movies.
Yeah.
There's a lot of I mean, I haven't read a lot of that book. I got into it a little bit there, and then I didn't finish it, but
so you did read some of it though?
I did.
Okay.
There's a lot of Dune content, you know what I mean? But that first book.
I think the common sentiment is that kind of once you make it past the first few books, then it all kind of jumps off a cliff in terms of quality. So
I think somebody else took over the books too, if I'm not mistaken.
I think it was his son, if I'm not mistaken, actually.
Right.
So yeah. I mean, again, at this point, Denis Villeneuve is he's one of those directors that you say, you've got free reign. We'll give you the money you need to make whatever you want. That's how I would handle it. Look, I don't run any studios, I fully admit, but after what he's done, I mean, I guess to be fair, Blade Runner 2049 in terms of box office didn't exactly, set the world on fire, but if you look at the quality of basically every film he's done, I mean, let the man do his thing. So if he wants to do 2 movies, he wants to do 3 movies, he wants to Peter Jackson that shit, let him do it,
Yeah.
So yeah, it's cool. I look forward to that. I didn't know that you had read any of that. I haven't read any of it. I familiar with it as a concept, but never actually got into it.
I also own the original on Blu-ray. The original movie they tried to make. I think Sting's in it. It's a pretty awful movie. Did you ever see it?
I don't think so.
Oh man, you got to watch it. It's got Professor X in it.
I think I've seen parts of it actually, but I don't know that I've ever sat down and watched the whole thing.
Hard thing to watch. It's a hard thing to watch. It's an endurance thing.
Well, maybe I'll borrow your Blu-ray if I ever feel up to the task. Something that apparently is not shit is A Quiet Place. Jim from The Office, he's the one that directed this. He's starring in it with his wife, Emily Blunt, and they premiered the movie at South by Southwest. And let's just say that it's been well received, shall we say. Right now, Rotten Tomatoes has 16 reviews, all fresh, average rating 8.9 out of 10.
Wow.
So obviously small sample size, but it seems like this one's going to be a win. Is kind of the impression I'm getting from this.
It's
Comes out
exciting.
April 6th. Yeah. I liked that first teaser. I was less impressed with the trailer that came out subsequently, but yeah, I mean, this definitely gets me a bit more excited about it. I mean, cast we know is great. Jim from The Office obviously is coming into his own, man.
2018's looking pretty good for Jim.
Yeah, let's say so far. What would say we said that he was an early contender for Who Won the Year. So if this follows and Jack Ryan doesn't suck, I don't know. he's got to be in contention,
Right?
I mean, if we're being honest, Jim from The Office is winning every year because dude is married to Emily Blunt. But barring that, if we're just going, strictly speaking about what he's doing on the screen and behind the screen, I guess, as well, then, he's well on his way, isn't he?
Yeah.
Did you see the trailer for Sorry to Bother You?
I did. I
What'd
think
you
that
think
looks
about
like, I think that looks really good. I'm excited about that.
Looks like a lot of fun. It's a great cast. First of all, Lakeith Stanfield, he was great in Get Out. He's also great in Atlanta. Another reason you should watch Atlanta. And Tessa Thompson and Armie Hammer. There's a couple other faces in there, I think, that are pretty noteworthy. Stephen Yeun, Walking Dead. This looked like a lot of fun. I really liked the style and the tone that this trailer had.
I like how they kept dropping him into, like he was on the phone.
Uh-huh.
And he drops into places, people's houses and stuff when he's talking to them.
Yeah,
I thought that was a little artistic take for what he was doing. I think that looked nice.
That's what I mean by it. It feels like there's a kind of a vision to what's going on here. It seems like that it's nice when a trailer can kind of give you that feel, because sometimes trailers just don't. It's hard. Sometimes it's hard for marketing to really kind of capture exactly what you're going for. This one to me feels like this trailer tells me what this movie's going to be like. Yeah, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's to be good, but I would say that based on what I've seen, I'm really into what.
I'm all in.
Exactly, and the white voice is pretty awesome. David Cross and Patton Oswalt will be doing the two white voices according to the cast list. So that's pretty good.
It's pretty good.
That's pretty good. TV news. Nick Offerman. Who our listeners might recognize as a man named Ron Swanson in Parks and Recreation, is going to be joining the cast of Amazon's Good Omens, which is an adaptation of the Terry Pratchett and Neil Gaiman book. He's going to be playing the U.S. ambassador and the father of the child warlock in the series, who is mistakenly believed to be the Antichrist.
Yeah, I need to get on that book. I got some tokens for the audibles. I think I'll start it.
Yeah. I would say definitely a lot of. Terry Pratchett and Neil Gaiman. That certainly says a lot about it. It's going to be a 6-part series, is what this is, and it also stars Michael Sheen, David Tennant, John Hamm, and Miranda Richardson. So
Jesus.
Yeah, you throw Nick Offerman into that pile. This seems like a pretty good project. If people are basically kind of. If you're attracting that sort of talent, look, not every project that has talented people in it involved turns out to be good. We'll talk about it soon, but yeah, that's a pretty good sign anyway. So looking forward to that. Should be launching. Yep, Amazon says it's going to launch it globally in 2019, so it's still a good ways away. It seems far away.
They've been working on it for a while, haven't they? It seems like it.
It does seem like it, but. We'll watch it when it comes out, I suppose. What else are we going to do?
That's why we're here.
We got another trailer. I feel like we've had a million trailers for this, but we got another trailer for a series of unfortunate events, season 2.
Yeah.
I feel like we've talked about it a lot. I will say again that I would like to watch the first season in
Still
preparation
haven't
for
seen
the
it.
second season. Still haven't seen it. This second season's right around the corner, March 30th. I will also add to that this is the first trailer that we've seen for season 2. Again, it's probably the only full-fledged trailer we've seen, but this is the first trailer. I'm like, oh, fuck yeah. I don't know why I didn't watch season 1 back in the day. Like this one really, really felt fun and exciting. Like I was just, I mean, I'm in the midst of watching a Netflix series right now that I have 12 episodes left on, so it's not going to immediately come up on what I'm going to watch next, but I would like to watch this before season 2 drops. So that gives me a 3-week window to kind of get there, more or less. So
you can do it.
I can do it. I know I can do it. It's a matter of will I do it, and that will remain to be seen. But certainly something that I think that it does interest both of us. And
well, I saw the first season too. The first season was good. So I'm eagerly. Netflix got some good stuff coming down the hatch this year.
Yeah, it seems like
I'm pretty excited.
It's like for every shitty movie they put out, they pump out a pretty good TV show. So I guess you take your your wins and your losses. So
that's right.
Well, I don't know. Oh, this has got to be the best piece of news for the week. Jon Favreau.
Johnny V.
Johnny V, baby. Johnny V is here to executive produce and write a live-action Star Wars series, which will be coming to Disney's new direct-to-consumer platform. So their streaming service is what it's going to be coming to.
Holy shit.
If I'm not mistaken, this would be the first live-action Star Wars series, right?
Yeah. I mean, as far as I know they had some like one-off, one-off.
I mean,
TV.
we got the holiday special.
Yeah, right.
Which I don't think that qualifies. I mean, it's live action, but I don't think it qualifies as a series anyway.
No, yeah, definitely not a series.
It's definitely an all-time classic. That is an indisputable fact. But I mean, Lucasfilm is not fucking around. I think we said it probably multiple times, but it seems like they're operating at a pretty breakneck pace with really all the content they're putting out for the Star Wars universe. I mean, it makes sense. I mean, that's basically what Lucasfilm is at this point. I mean, I think we're supposed to get an Indiana Jones sequel at some point, but it's pretty much Star Wars, and just when you thought you were tired of Star Wars, here's a little bit more Star Wars for you.
I'll take it all.
I'm well on board for something like this.
Give me all the Star Wars.
And Jon Favreau is fucking talented as all hell, and clearly he's got a great working relationship with Disney at this point. I mean, obviously Iron Man 2 for Marvel Studios, and since then The Jungle Book. He's working on The Lion King now, so I mean, it definitely seems like they have something together that they're both very happy with, and both kind of keen to work with each other and make something happen. So as with the Star Wars trilogy that the Game of Thrones guys are doing, there's not really any details on this other than, hey, it's happening, which is cool. I would expect, actually, I don't know. I was going to say I would expect maybe to see something on this next year, but that might even be too soon. Maybe 2020 would be my guess. I don't think there's a date that they have listed here, but I mean, I think he's pretty busy right now with The Lion King, certainly. But
right,
it's interesting. It is interesting. I mean, Star Wars.
Star Wars, man. Need you say anything more? It's Star Wars with Johnny V. It sounds. I don't know. It sounds really exciting. I'm excited to see how he handles it.
Yeah, looking forward to it. His Dark Materials, the book trilogy by Philip Pullman, is getting an adaptation that's going to be coming to BBC. Now, this actually has already received one adaptation in the form of a film by the name of The Golden Compass. Do you remember that movie?
Okay, yeah, that rings a bell.
Had Daniel Craig in it, and I think there was a polar bear that he fought at some point.
Yeah, giant, big ass polar bear.
If I recall correctly, there was someone fighting a polar bear. Let's put it that way. I know that it won a Oscar for Best Visual Effects, and I remember at the time being pissed about it. It won over Transformers. I went back and looked to see what it beat out, and I'm like, yeah, I'm a little less attached to the Transformers franchise at this point, so that doesn't really offend my sensibilities as much as it probably used to. But that was kind of a misfire as far as adaptations go. I don't think it really did all that well. I don't think it was all that well received, and it was intended to be, I think, the jumping on point for a trilogy of movies, and
right,
it ended basically as soon as it began. So they're trying it again. Is kind of what's happening here. So I think, like I said, BBC is going to be the one doing it. It's an 8-part series, and it's going to be directed by Tom Hooper, who's known for directing The King's Speech a few years back.
That was a good movie.
And it's attracting some talent so far. Daphne Keane, who played X-23 in Logan most recently.
Okay.
She's in final talks to join the project as the main character. Lyra, who's a young orphan girl who finds herself thrust into a dangerous adventure. And also joining the cast, or at least close to joining the cast, is Lin-Manuel Miranda, the Hamilton creator, star. He's in Mary Poppins Returns. He's going to be in this now. Seems like he's spreading his wings. So cool.
Right on, man.
I'm every bit of talent that seems to be attached to this seems like a good sign. Certainly a step in the right direction. So we'll see. Again, this is something that, at least source material wise, I'm not familiar with. Really, the only thing from this that I have seen is the Golden Compass, which I would like to think is not reflective of the source material. So we'll see how it turns out.
Yeah, man. Give it a shot.
We'll give it a shot. Last but not least, certainly not least, The Expanse Season 3 has an official trailer.
Oh.
And yeah, this one got me a bit more excited than the little 30-second spot did. Let's put it that way.
I'm pumped up about some Expanse, man.
Yeah, this trailer was shit hot. Let's put it that way. It was really cool. This is the show for me, man. It's the show for me. And this trailer, it's so cool to see moments that I read. It's so cool to see, the payoff to the live action versions of those events. I mean, obviously we only see snippets here, but just them talking about the protomolecule hybrids and firing all of them. I'm like, fuck yeah, I need it right now. Give it to me now. So April 11th, it's coming soon. Quite literally a month away from recording this, which is cool. I don't know how many episodes it is this season. I would guess 13. That's my hope. But yeah, I'm greatly looking forward to this.
I just don't want to. Man, such a pain in the ass watching this shit on Sci-Fi and their shit app and everything else.
Just be thankful you're getting more episodes, okay?
Yeah, that's true.
Worry about that later.
Yeah, that's true. It's a small
get the Blu-ray for your collection, so that when the time comes when there's a complete series of hopefully 20 seasons, then you can watch it all together.
That's it. One long grind in good quality.
And good quality, exactly. That's the idea. All right, that is the news for this week. Let's talk about A Wrinkle in Time.
Yeah, let's talk about it.
Well, I gotta say, just right off the bat, I'm glad that I decided to drink a beer while recording this episode, because I tried watching this movie sober, and boy, that was a mistake. So talking about it with a little bit of alcohol, a little bit of brain lubrication, I think is probably the way to go, because
holy shit,
this was a ride, and not in a good way. I think we've danced around it a bit throughout this episode so far. But again, before we really get going on this, this is directed by Ava DuVernay, who I will, in spite of this movie, still say is a talented director. She did Selma a few years back, which is phenomenal. She did the Netflix documentary 13th, which I've heard is great. Haven't actually watched it, but yeah, I guess, sometimes, talented people can put out subpar products, generally speaking. It's based on the 1962 novel of the same name by Madeleine L'Engle, and interestingly enough, if I'm not mistaken, this is the third week in a row that we're talking about a book-to-film adaptation.
Yeah.
But anyway, I'm sorry. I say, it feels like we're another podcast. It stars Storm Reed as the main character, Meg Murray, and also Oprah Winfrey, Reese Witherspoon, Mindy Kaling, Chris Pine, Gugu Mbatha-Raw, and a couple others. Zach Galifianakis, he shows up for a minute. I hope he got paid well.
Little Christopher Wallace.
Yeah. Charles Wallace, I believe you mean.
Yeah, Charles Wallace. I'm sorry.
So this movie, it's about three idiots that ride around on a lettuce woman. Wait, hold on. I think I wrote down the wrong description here. It is actually about, well, it's actually about that too, but it is the plot description that I will present is: after the disappearance of her scientist father, three peculiar beings send Meg, her brother, and her friend into space in order to find him, which sounds a lot better than what we got. But moving into what we did get, oh man, I mean, what the fuck was this movie?
I don't know, man.
Answer me this question. What the fuck was this?
Like, at some points, I thought I was watching a music video.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, I that's something I completely blocked out of my brain after a day of watching it. I totally forgot about how just awkwardly edited the whole thing is, especially the music, because it just feels like it comes around at like the weirdest times, doesn't it? Like it's just like
it's
like here's just like a moment, and then boom, here's just a pop song for 3 minutes, and it's just, what's going on here?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot wrong with this movie.
Yeah,
a lot wrong with this movie, and I mean, I watched it today, and it's the way it's edited, the way it's written, the style. I mean, that's just the choices that were made. Just don't, like, why the fuck, like, Oprah for a good chunk of the movie is probably what would you say, 75 foot tall?
She's certainly larger than regular size. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, I mean, lady's huge, right? Why is Oprah? Why you make Oprah so big? Now, maybe I can't remember because I read the book. I read the book.
Maybe it's a meta
ago.
commentary on Oprah Winfrey's wealth.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah. So I went back and listened to our 2018 episode, in which we talked about this movie along with, many other movies, and kind of laid down our predictions. And I think both of us kind of had the same sentiment of, well, this one could go either way. And I said that, quote unquote, it could be a colossal disaster.
That it was. You called it.
Never has a description been more apt. Now, we can forget about the part where I said that, I think both of us were yay on it as it was, but I mean, I was looking forward to this, actually. I mean, maybe don't forget about that. It's something that, based on the marketing materials, is like, okay, I see signs in here. I'm like, this could be
cool.
This could be cool, or this could be
really bad,
very bad. And it just, colossal disaster is if I had to pick a headline for a written review, that would probably be where I would start. Or if I had to choose a pull quote for my Rotten Tomatoes blurb, it would be that. I mean, this thing's it's an unholy mess. It's a misfire. It's incomprehensible. It's baffling on every level. And it's crazy to me. It's just insane to me, because you've got a talented director.
Right.
You've got a talented cast.
Right.
And you've got a book that I think is fairly is pretty well regarded, as far as I know. Something that I read many, many moons ago, and I don't really remember the nitty-gritty details of it.
I remember enjoying it, though.
I guarantee it's better than this shit.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's...
I know that, the book I've read online has been kind of considered, quote-unquote, unfilmable. I don't know exactly what is meant by that. Obviously certain things don't always make the transition well from page to screen, but if nothing else, this movie is certainly fuel to that fire that, yeah, this book should have never been made into a movie. But I also want to say that I guarantee that there's a better movie sitting within that book, because this thing just feels, I don't know if it's a case of creative meddling. I don't know if if Disney and Ava DuVernay were just butting heads the whole time. If they didn't let her make the movie she wanted to do, or if this is exactly what she wanted to make and it was just a spectacular piece of shit. I don't know. I would like to know. I just don't know.
Because it was a spectacular piece of shit.
Like, I mean, it sucks because on the heels of Black Panther, a movie written and directed by co-written by two black men, directed by a black man, starring a predominantly black cast. You've got a really talented black director here. It's the first movie with a budget of more than $100 million, directed by a person of color. And you've got a really talented cast, a lot of, the whole main family is biracial. You have the three misses are, it's Oprah Winfrey, you have Reese Witherspoon and Mindy Kaling. So you have, a lot of really nice casting here, a lot of diversity, and I like that. That's the one thing for me that didn't feel out of place. And I think that's something that was changed from the book. I mean, for a book that was written in the 60s, that's probably not really surprising. But that to me felt like a natural way to adapt it to a modern day setting.
Right.
But beyond that, just the actual filmmaking behind it, the actual script of it is just an unmitigated disaster. I mean, it's atrocious.
It's bad.
We talked, last week we talked, or you talked about, how in Red Sparrow you wanted to get up and walk around. That was me watching this movie. Like, this is one of the few movies in my lifetime that I honestly think that if I did not have to record an episode of this movie, I would legitimately have walked out about halfway through because this movie had nothing to offer me other than misery.
Colossal waste of time.
Yeah, it was. And, I know you saw it in IMAX and you paid money to see this movie, which to me, like, that hurts me. I don't feel bad for you because I warned you. I told you, look, I didn't want to poison the well by telling you just how bad it was, but I did want to kind of be like, look, dude, maybe cool your jets a little bit on this one.
Fuck it, man, I'm all in. I want to see it on the big screen.
I movie past this, and I'm just like, I've made a huge mistake, and it sucks because I wanted this to be good, and this is one of the few movies in a long time where I can't even look at this movie and think that there was a point in time where this could have been good. Like, I think from the get-go, I think that this was just a misstep in pretty much every direction. I don't see a version of this movie in its current form where it doesn't seem like they bungled. They did bungle the editing, but I just think that's probably an end result of, holy shit, there's nothing to work with here. Like, we need to stitch something together out of all these misbegotten scenes and performances and line deliveries, and there's just nothing to make of this. So I'm honestly just perplexed by this movie and how something like this came to be in its current form, because I want to say the pieces were there, at least pre-production wise, but clearly something just, am I crazy?
No, you're not crazy, man. It's not even pretty rough. It's fucking rough. It's bad.
I know this thing isn't reviewing terribly well. I think it's sitting like 40% on Rotten Tomatoes, but that there's even positive reviews for this. I'm just like,
how
did we watch the same fucking movie? Like, to me, there's nothing of value here.
No.
Okay. I don't want to be that rough. I will say that I thought that the sentiment that it that it strived for, the lessons that it's trying to impart, they're admirable. They're very clumsily handled. They're kind of beaten over your head. Certainly by the end of the movie. But I thought that, okay, you're trying to make a movie for kids. I assume this is for kids. That's for me. That's the only explanation. I assume that you're making this for kids and, for teens, and you're trying to say, hey, it's okay. It's going to be okay. Or, here's something to kind of inspire you. I don't think this would have inspired me personally. It certainly didn't now in its current form at my current age, but I will say that, okay, I kind of see, that's probably the one angle of it where I'm like, okay, maybe there was a little bit of heart behind it, but the execution of it is just...
At least something came from the pages of the book and ended up in the movie.
Right, yeah, like that's the only thing that I can pull out of that I could probably really be even slightly nice about, because the rest of it is just... I mean, this is one of the worst movies I've seen in a very long time.
It's pretty bad.
And it hurts me to say that, because I don't want to be mean about a movie that I think that should be, that I think is well intentioned.
Yeah, well, I mean, intentions and execution are two different things.
Yeah, I mean, that's exactly it. If there are ways to realize those intentions and be successful, this is not that. This is not the way to do that. So I don't know. I mean, nothing in here makes any sense. I don't know if that's... I want to say that's probably just a poor translation of the source material, where there's probably some abstract concepts that just they just decided not to explain for some reason.
I remember the book being very abstract.
Yeah, well, and I think that's probably kind of what people mean by it's unfilmable.
Right.
Right. Like it's tough to, the whole the Tessering and all the kind of weird shit like that. And it's just like, okay, I kind of get that, but they didn't even make a fucking attempt to explain any of it. They just started dropping random shit, and then, here's a physics lesson for the day to solve the, like, what is even happening here? What the fuck is this?
It's a wonky thing. Fluid dynamics has lift. Did you know that?
Oh, okay. Well, thank you. To me, I feel embarrassed for everyone involved with this, and some, like some people are, some people are trying in this movie. I don't know that anyone's not trying per se. Zach Galifianakis, he's there for his paycheck.
He's him. He just played himself.
They just played himself. They said, just do your thing, and like just like the Mrs. characters, like, good God, every word of dialogue out of their mouths is just cringe to listen to. Is it not? I mean, I understand that it's kind of, meant to be kind of weird and off-putting, but even by the time you kind of reconcile what's going on, it's kind of just like, oh, no, this is still just terrible. This is still just really bad. Like, every time they try for like a little bit of humor here and there, my theater was dead silent. I know yours was because there was 3 people in it.
Yeah, exactly.
But my theater had, I went Saturday night, and there was probably like 30, 40 people in my theater.
Damn.
Dead silent the entire movie. Like no one reacted to anything in this movie. And I know they spent a good amount of money on it. $100 million certainly isn't anything to scoff at, but I
know where it went. I know where all the money went.
I agree in some ways, in the sense that I know that it looks like they spent a lot of money on this movie, but at the same time, it also is one of those things like, oh no, they needed about $200 million to actually do what they wanted to do, because it looks like trash most of the time.
It's just a rough thing.
And to be fair, giving this movie $200 million, certainly in its current iteration, would have been even more of a disaster than it already was. But I don't know if it's one of those things where they needed to streamline it to make it work for their budget, but it did not work. It did not work. Yeah, that's what I got. That's what I got for you. You want to add some thoughts onto that?
It was... I bitched last week about Red Sparrow, about it being boring, but at least it was... I don't know. This is... I mean, in a lot of ways, this is oh shit! What Inhumans? Inhumans worthy IMAX viewing for myself.
Yeah, it's certainly in the ballpark. Yeah, I will agree with that.
I don't know, man. It's a rough thing. It's a rough fucking movie. Real bad movie. I could probably hop straight up into the recommendations. I would. Are you done?
I think I'm done. Yeah, I think you can take the floor.
Okay, yeah. Wait till somebody pays you to watch this movie. Don't if you want a sci-fi movie about little kids or something, there's a lot of other shit to watch. Don't watch this. This is real bad movie.
Yeah, I think I'm trying to remember. Have we handed out the dreaded wait till someone watches you to pay or wait till someone pays you to watch this movie? Have we handed out that to any movies since we've started this podcast?
Did we do it with Inhumans?
See, I don't know if we did because that was sort of a TV show as well. I'm sure we certainly said stay away if you're just curious about the IMAX version of the first couple episodes that they put up, but I don't know if we quite went all the way there because it was technically going to be a TV series when it came out.
Right.
I know we didn't for the Dark Tower. I think retroactively I would probably put it at the same level looking back.
This is like similar. This is very much a similar thing.
Yeah, given that was our first episode, I think I kind of probably took it a little bit easier, and it's maybe I just liked it more than I do now. I don't know. It's bad either way, but yeah, this is a movie that, maybe it has some sort of value for kids. I can't speak to that, but I think it's entirely possible to make a kids movie that is watchable by kids and adults alike. Whether they're getting something different out of it, okay, but you can at least make a movie that both audiences are going to enjoy. This, to me, if it is in fact intended to be a movie for kids, it is a movie intended only for kids to the exclusion of everyone else, and in a big way, in the biggest way possible, I would say. So, as it stands, as I'm rating it, as it's applicable to me, as it's applicable to recommending it to any of our listeners of this show, of which I assume most are probably of a pretty decent age, I would say. Yeah, you need to wait. You need to wait till that guy strolls up and says, "I'll give you." How much would you say? $25? I'll give you $25. Is that too little money? I wouldn't watch it again for $25, but maybe $50. I'd watch it again for $50.
I'd watch it if I could get my money back. If you want to give me my $20 back for my IMAX ticket,
yeah,
I'd watch it for $20.
Someone funds my movie pass for an entire year as a result of this movie, I would be okay with it.
Yeah, it's
bad.
Fuck.
It's bad. I don't think there's much more to say on it other than it's bad, but we'll do spoilers. I don't have much more to say on, as far as kind of what went wrong here, but
right.
Full spoilers for Wrinkle in Time. I guess just to maybe elaborate on kind of what I've talked about, I just think that they did such a shit job of explaining what the fuck was happening. And I get, it's trying to be whimsical and take you on this magical journey, but nothing makes sense. Like all this bullshit, like they cut anything out about it that would add any sort of context to what the fuck is happening here. Like all the stuff about, they're like, oh, you're right about the Tesseract. Well, I know what a fucking Tesseract is, but within this movie, there's no explanation for about it. Oh, we're going to Tesser here. Oh, it's fucking Camazotz. What the fuck is Camazotz? What are you talking about? Like,
it was a giant brain. They were inside a giant brain. I don't know if you saw that when little Charles Wallace was evil for whatever reason.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
They were fighting inside of a brain. Did you see that?
Yeah. And speaking of Charles Wallace, we'll get to him in a second. But the characters here, there's just nothing to them. Like Meg, by the end of the movie, they're like, "You're a warrior. You're going to stand the test of time with Einstein and all these people." I'm like, what are you fucking on about? Like, what did she do? She did nothing. She's like, what are you talking about? Did you feel the same way when they just name dropped like, here's 50 famous people that are really smart? You're like Gandhi. I'm like, what? What the fuck?
The whole time they were going on about little Charles Wallace, and then at the end,
they're like, Charles Wallace is the greatest, and then Meg's a fucking useless sack of shit. Why the fuck we bring Meg? She sucks.
No, she's up there with Einstein.
I'm like, fuck.
Oh yeah.
What is even happening in this movie? All right, we can talk about Charles Wallace now. I want to bring to your attention two things that we talked about last week in our news segments. First of which, when we talked about Rampage, we talked about the George supercut. I'm ready for the Charles Wallace supercut because it will be about 1 minute less than this entire movie's runtime will be. Because if I hear another motherfucking person say Charles Wallace again, I'm gonna lose my shit. It's not exactly the most unique thought, but I've seen multiple people online say, "Take a shot every time you hear the words Charles Wallace uttered in this movie."
No shit.
I don't advise anyone does that because you will be dead by the end of this movie. Yeah,
Charles Wallace.
Fucking Charles Wallace, man. The second thing I wanted to bring to your attention. You were talking about Lost in Space, and I was just like, I'm a little worried that they're going to make this a little too Will Robinson centric. And if you make a show about if you fuck up the casting, you have a little kid that sucks at acting, and you focus everything around him, it's not going to work out well. Well, gee, what happened here?
Charles Wallace.
You get a kid that sucks at acting, and you make him the fucking final villain of the whole movie? Oh, no.
Would it be so bad if they just called him Charlie or something like that?
Charlie. I think the Charles Wallace thing is a carryover from the book, to be fair. But it's one of those things that maybe you say it once or twice in the movie. It's like, oh, we get it, it's Charles Wallace. But after you hear it for the 96th time in the first 3 minutes, you've got to just say, enough is enough. Enough is enough with the Charles Wallace. We can't have any more Charles Wallaces because adults are going to make this drinking game about taking a shot every time they hear Charles Wallace, and we're going to be responsible for a lot of dead people. And that's not a very Disney move,
They say his name a whole fuck ton, man. There's a lot of Charles Wallace being said. It's I wonder how many times I'm not going to watch the movie again ever. But I'm curious if somebody will do a count.
Unless someone pays us.
Yeah, if somebody wants to pay me to count how many times there's Charles Wallace in there, I'll grab a counter and I'll tick it. Because I'm curious how many times he's referenced. Because, I understand he plays a major role, but you don't need to say his name every 30 seconds. Legitimately, I feel like it's like every 30 seconds. But I digress. Charles Wallace. Little kid.
Speaking of other characters, let me ask you a question, actually. Her friend Calvin, and I think his name's Calvin?
Yeah.
I want you to tell me one thing of note that Calvin did in this movie.
What did Calvin do?
What did Calvin contribute to this movie? What was his valuable contribution to the party?
What did Calvin do?
Because as far as I can tell, he was a perpetual fuck-up. He fell off the lettuce woman.
He did fall off the lettuce woman. Yeah.
Every time something needed solving, Nego's the one that figured it out, and Calvin was just like, "Oh, I didn't know that."
You're amazing.
You're amazing. I like your hair. Like, fuck off, Calvin. What are you even doing here? You have no purpose in this movie whatsoever.
He was there when he didn't need to be, okay? That's why Meg liked him. You're here because you don't need to be looking for my dad across space and time.
Like, you're here because you're the most useless sack of shit in this movie.
Maybe your dad was right, Calvin.
It's nothing against him. It's just, why are you going to put him as a central character in this movie if he's just going to be a punching bag for the entire runtime? He does nothing. You say he doesn't redeem himself by the end of the movie of being a fuck up. He's just there. He's literally just there.
He's just a stepping stone for Meg, is all he is.
I guess
he helps boost Meg's confidence.
But why does he need to be there to do that?
That's a valid question. I don't know, man.
Meg's a strong, independent woman. She don't need no man to fucking lift her up. That's some bullshit.
Yeah, well, that's what he did. That's all he did. Meg, I like your hair. Don't say that. I don't like you telling me I like my hair. You like my hair.
Anyway, the misses I thought were all very bad.
Except Oprah.
Oprah was fine because she was Giant Oprah, and that was fucking hilarious. I sent you a picture of little Charles Wallace putting his hand on Giant Oprah's face, which is fucking incredible. I think you mentioned that's pretty much the encapsulation of this entire movie in a single still, which I feel is very accurate. But who else? It's a Mindy Kaling's character. Wow, that was really bad. I don't remember what she was. Mrs. Who, maybe? She's one of them. I don't care. But I feel bad for her because, oh man, every line was just torture. Like, I hope she got paid well. I hope she got paid well for this movie, because that would be my only comfort when I go home at the end of the workday is I'm getting a lot of money to do this shitty movie. that would be my saving grace. But what was your what stood out to you? I was going to ask you what your favorite moment was, then I stopped myself and I'm like, that's a silly question, isn't it? Let's say what stuck out to you. We've talked about Giant Oprah. I think Lettuce Woman is definitely a pretty big one of what.
So I'm gonna run through it here.
Okay, please do.
I'm watching the movie, and I know things are taking a turn for the worse when she's out at the basketball court, and the kids are playing basketball. All of a sudden, it slow-mos to like slow motion, little kids dribbling over there on the basketball court for PE, and they're playing the pop song, and it's like, oh god, what's going on here? And then the teachers are talking shit about Charles Wallace and Meg, and Charles Wallace tells him to fuck off, and he goes over there. You hear that, Meg? You hear that? You the best, Meg. You the best. And
I think he actually, if Charles Wallace literally stood up and said "fuck off," raised both of his middle fingers and stormed off, this would be a great movie. I want that version of the movie. He didn't do that, to be fair, but if he did do that, I would have been fucking on board with this movie from that moment. So that's clearly where they went wrong. Is they stuck with the wrong approach there.
Right?
They should have made little Charles Wallace into a massive edgelord from the beginning. I'm sorry. Please continue.
It's all right. What else happened? That's when I knew things were going to get bad. It didn't take long for them to get bad. A lot of it doesn't make any sense. Lettuce Woman, she turns into a giant head of lettuce with like a Brussels sprout head.
A terrible CG Brussels sprout head.
Yeah, it was. What the fuck is going on, man? And then to make things worse, they're riding on the Lettuce Woman, and Meg kicks off the lettuce and starts to fly, and they're all giggly and happy, and then stupid ass Calvin flies off the lettuce leaf, and
idiot.
And then she turns into a lettuce wrap and shoots down to fucking pick him up.
But she doesn't even pick him up. He gets saved by the flowers or something.
Yeah. You got the guy the guy eating sand, the beach dude.
I forgot about Michael Peña's in this movie. I totally forgot about that.
But I don't. What's he do?
Well, I liked how when they got to that moment, like they had just gotten out of a trap of, oh, that was a very obvious trap. We're on this world of everything is fucked here. We're not supposed to trust anyone. Here's this really creepy asshole with weird facial hair that comes up. You guys want a sandwich? Like, that was literally just the test they just averted, right? Weren't they in the cul-de-sac? And, Belma Young's all like, hey,
I have cakes
come
of
inside.
all assortments.
Yeah, we can eat. Yeah. And then Meg's like, nah, fuck that. I mean, she I guess, to be fair, Meg sticks to her guns, is just like, I'm not eating the sandwich. I don't want the cakes. I don't want the sandwich. But everyone else is just like, fuck yeah, I want a sandwich. Like, it was the exact same device of, hey, this is obviously a trap. What are you doing? Like Meg clearly is like, this is fishy, but she doesn't decide to verbalize that to her compatriots. And little Charles Wallace gets corrupted because of it. It gets corrupted by the it.
And then they go to the White Room and he turns into a puppet.
Yeah, what was that? What was going on there?
I don't know what that was.
And then he crumbles to the ground.
He does. And then she starts walking on sketches.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And it's so wonky, man. It's some crazy shit.
Just there's no flow between anything that happens. Like shit just happens for no reason whatsoever, without any sort of explanation or any sort of context lended to what is happening. And like, you can get away with that for maybe a first third of your movie, but once you start kind of, saying like, oh, this is why this is happening, or like, you don't need to have clunky exposition that lays everything out clearly for you. But you need to have something that at least contextualizes what is happening, because this has none of that. I mean, it's just from pretty much the beginning, just complete nonsense stitched together with more complete nonsense and unrelated nonsense that, it's not even like, this nonsense happens, then that nonsense should happen too. It's just like, now here's just some random fucking bullshit that's going to happen for no fucking reason for 2 hours.
It does happen for 2 hours. It's a bizarre thing. Giant Oprah. Oprah is fucking huge throughout the whole movie.
We're banging on about it. It's pretty good. I mean, if there's one, like...
The first time you see her, like, she comes in, she's like a floating head. It's like, what the fuck's going on here, man? And then, boom, she's the size of a house. I'm like, God, what the fuck is that? What's going on?
Look,
and then it gets better. Then they run away to the different land. And like, okay, maybe that was just like a weird thing. Oprah's the size of a fucking mountain. And it's... what's going on?
Okay, if you're in the editing room on this movie and you get to that point where Oprah is first introduced and she's just like the floating disembodied head, surely there's a moment in your head where you're just like, why am I working on, like, who thought this was a good idea? Right. Is any amount of money worth this? Like if that doesn't make you reconsider your entire life up until that point,
what does?
Then I exactly what does? Because
I don't know who chose to make Oprah so fucking big, but she was big in this movie. And then for some, I guess when they go to Zach Galifianakis, they go to his cave. She's normal size there, but then when she gets there, she's got like a mohawk and a mohawk braid. She's got some fucked up hair in this movie
that's
too.
Right. I forgot she changed her hair. That was nice. Actually, everyone.
I guess everyone.
They all change their hair and clothes when they go different places, don't they? So I guess that's relatively consistent.
They do. Yeah.
It's the one thing that's consistent is that the outfits change for no reason.
Yeah. Another thing is too. You could
have redirected the costume budget there into the CG so that Lettuce Woman didn't look like a complete piece of shit.
Right.
Just a great idea out the top of my head.
You got Meg. There's giant tornado, destroying the forest, and she says, "Listen, the only way we're going to survive this is if we go into the tornado." And so they hop in that tree log thing because she did physics in her head, and they zoom out and they show all the shit smashing against the side of the mountain. But their log happens to,
clears it. Yeah,
it clears it.
That's convenient.
That was convenient. It's like, good thing they weren't in that other log, but I don't know. It was just stupid. It was very stupid. Oh, and then for some reason, little Charles Wallace was already on top of the mountain. I don't know how he got there.
He's the smartest man in the world. Did you know that?
It's another thing. Everybody's always talking about the like, where did Charles Wallace come from? Right?
I feel like Charles Wallace should have been an alien. Like, that would have explained a lot in this movie.
Right.
Like, he was just a fucking extraterrestrial that they adopted when he was a kid, and that would explain why he knows all these fucking interdimensional beings or whatever the fuck they're supposed to be. That would explain a lot, wouldn't it?
Yeah, then, they reference Charles. She goes, "Okay, boss, you're the boss," or whatever, little 6-year-old Charles Wallace, I don't understand Charles Wallace. I don't understand, and maybe it's talked about in the books or something. I don't know, but it's like, hey, listen, Meg, we're gonna adopt this little boy, and he's essentially he's known throughout the universe, for all this shit. He's just an awesome guy, But I don't know. None of it makes any sense, man. It's a hard thing to grasp.
Yeah,
fucking Charles Wallace is an enigma.
I think really what the bottom line for this is, it's too smart for this. It's too smart for us. We're just lowly beings in the scheme of things.
That's what it is. And we're not a Charles Wallace. That's
so we're just not. We're not equipped enough to be able to comprehend something like this. So it just we revolt against it. I'm gonna go drink some bleach. So I'm gonna
done.
No, I've got nothing left. I've got nothing left in the tank.
Well, that's enough about that.
It is indeed. Let's hopefully talk about some things that we liked a bit more. You been up to anything since we recorded last?
I watched a cartoon movie called Nausicaa, I believe it is.
Yeah,
Nausicaa, Valley of the Wind.
Nausicaa, Valley of the Wind, yeah. What'd you think about that one?
It was, it's got a lot of similar tropes to Princess Mononoke.
Mononoke?
Yeah, it's got a lot of similar tropes to that, but I prefer the Princess Mononoke one better. I preferred it more.
Okay.
This one was just older, and I mean, don't get me wrong, it was all right. It was cool. I don't regret buying it or watching it or anything like that, but I feel like I watched the same movie a week prior, and I think that movie was a better one. I fell asleep last night watching 300. That was entertaining. I haven't watched that in a long time.
This is Sparta.
They took that little kid and put him out in the woods to hunt the wolf. He's out there in the cold in his underwear. Poor guy.
Yeah.
I don't know. It was a funny movie. What else did I watch? Oh, I watched The Hunger Games, the first one.
Did you now? What'd you think about that?
It was better than this movie.
That's probably true. It's been a while since I've seen it, but that's probably true, yeah.
It was better than this movie.
Not by much, I don't think, but...
yeah, it's a strange thing.
I'll say maybe you liked it more than I did when I saw it back in the day, so...
No, it's I akin it to what's the vampire one where the vampires shine like diamonds?
Twilight?
Yeah, it's that kind of tier.
Yep, I agree. The first one for me is 100% in the Twilight tier.
So I mean, like, whatever, you know what I mean? I watched it.
You're gonna suffer your way through the whole series.
Yeah, that's what I'm gonna do.
Give Catching Fire a shot, if nothing else, because it's night and day between the first one and the second one. But then it kind of just, I think that at least Mockingjay Part 1 is better than the first Hunger Games, but
we'll see what happens. Like I said, I'll ride out the wave.
That's not a favorite franchise of mine. Let's put it that way.
Dragon Ball is taking another hiatus apparently because I haven't been able to watch the next episode, which is shit.
Okay. That's unfortunate.
That is unfortunate. Pissed me off this morning. I was looking forward to watching a cartoon. And I think that's pretty much it. I haven't really been doing a whole lot. What about you? What have you been up to?
Well, if that's what you've been up to, that means that you are not up to date on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., are you?
No, I'm not. I think I might be 1 or 2 episodes behind.
And you're 2 behind then, unless you have you watched anything since they came back from the break?
No, I don't think I have.
Okay. Then you're 2 behind, which is unfortunate because you need to get on that. Well, that's what I have watched most recently. They're back. They're back on Earth. And they're trying to prevent the end of the world, which is pretty cool. They've introduced a little bit of a new villain, which I'm intrigued by that direction. And the episode that they aired on this past Friday was the 100th episode for the show, which pretty big.
How was it? Was it pretty awesome?
Pretty big milestone. It was good. Certainly a little bit of fan service here and there, kind of nods to the show's past, which I appreciated, and certainly something pretty big that happened. Also very relevant to the show at large. So I think you're doing yourself a disservice by not being up to date on that. So you better get on that, fool. I also, as I said I would, I've started reading Abaddon's Gate, the third book in the Expanse series. Now, to be fair, and I think I also said this, that I'm a very slow reader, so I'm like literally 40-ish pages in, something like that. I'm reading it now, and I'm like, I read part of this, and I actually did read part of it. I think I tried reading it immediately after I finished Caliban's War, probably a year or so ago, but then I just tabled it for whatever reason. But I'm gonna try to get through it. So far so good on that promise. I don't really have much more to offer other than it's kind of nice sometimes sitting down and reading. I feel like I don't do it often enough.
Aren't you just a refined individual? I have to listen to my books because I'm unable to read.
I try to be. Well, the thing is, I find it hard to be in a distraction-free zone. I think that's my biggest problem. We live in an era of smartphones and fucking this and that, and it's just sometimes it's hard for me to just kind of sit down in the chair, lay down on my bed, and just plop open a book. Like, I don't know. I mean, I go through phases where I'll read more often than not, but it is kind of one of those things where like I need to get into a habit of it. I'd like to get into a habit of it. I mean, God knows I watch enough movies and shows and play enough video games, and obviously those are very, I guess maybe I'm just probably more inherently attracted to visual mediums like that, more interactive mediums, I guess. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, there's such a vast world of books that it feels like ignoring them. It's I don't know, kind of sucks in a way, because I'm just like, there's just so much out there, and it's just not enough time. It's just not enough time. But I am hoping to get a little bit deeper into Abaddon's Gate, and I might even read a little bit more tonight. Who's to say?
Ooh.
But that's effectively all I've been up to. That's certainly all I've been up to that I will talk about on this episode. So with that said, thank you guys for tuning in. I hope you guys enjoyed our savaging of A Wrinkle in Time.
Yeah, it was rough.
If you are listening to this point and you have not seen it yet, I think that you're perfectly fine listening to our episode on it and calling it a day on it. Now, I do think everyone should form their own opinions for themselves, but in good faith, I absolutely cannot recommend anyone A, waste their time, but B, just don't do it to yourselves. Like just take our words for it. But I'm sorry, I'm getting off base here. But thank you for tuning in. That's awesome of you guys. Yeah, if you like what you're hearing, share our episodes on Twitter, Facebook, whatever the case may be, so we can get a little bit wider audience, and maybe some other people can enjoy us too. We're on Patreon at patreon.com/watchreviewrepeat. Our first episode is the Marvel Cinematic Universe Phase 1, which has been up for a good while now. We will be recording Marvel Cinematic Universe Phase 2 very shortly, and so that will be up there very shortly as well. And if you have access to our Patreon, you're going to be the first one that's going to listen to that. It's a timed exclusive for all our Patreon supporters, so definitely get on that train. It's a good way to help us out, help us cover our costs for operating this podcast, and in return, you get those bonus episodes, you get early access to all of our regular episodes, so there's something for everyone there. Our website is www.watchreviewrepeat.com. And you can like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter at WRRPod, and send any questions and comments or anything to our Gmail at watchreviewrepeat@gmail.com. For any helpful links to that, see our website again. Our intro and outro track is Mechanolith by Kevin MacLeod, licensed under the Creative Commons by Attribution 3.0 license. And next week, we're going to be talking about something that I have been watching, and that is Marvel's Jessica Jones Season 2, which very recently dropped on Netflix.
Excellent.
Yeah, no, I'd say we gave ourselves an extra week because with these Netflix shows, 13 episodes, just grinding them out. It's not healthy, So we kind of wanted to give ourselves a little bit of time to pace ourselves while we watch it and process it maybe a little bit more than we would if we were just, and consuming it all at once. Tomb Raider also comes out next Friday, so we're kind of still debating whether we want to do full episode on it. We're kind of going to wait and see, I think, is kind of our approach right now. Regardless, we'll talk about it in some capacity. I think we're both going to watch it. It's just a matter of whether we just do a smaller segment on it within a different episode, or if we decide to do its own thing. We'll figure it out, I'm sure, certainly. So that's going to do it for us here at Watch Review Repeat. Thanks for tuning in to another episode. I hope you guys have a wonderful week, and we'll see you next time.
Adios.